bacchanori, this setup, hasn't it? Gather round, kids. Let me tell you a story. You might notice that if you're quite perceptive, the viewers among you, possibly not the listeners among you, but the viewers among you and the less inebriated will notice that there is no Todd. Because originally we said we were going to do this live at 6 p.m. and then Todd remembered he was working, so we had to delay it till 7:30 p.m. and now Todd's stuck in traffic, so it's just me. So it's a live with Jez and Jez. Hey everybody! But if Todd gets here in time, it will be live with Jez and a little bit of Todd. But I did promise that we would show you... No, enough. It doesn't involve you. It's live with Jez. Sometimes live with Jez and Todd. Never live with Jez and Todd and Woody. Because you just woof. Sorry. So I did say, hey everybody, thanks for joining. I did say that we would show you our, as Todd said, our pieces. So I am going to show you some of that. I'm not going to show you any of Todd's stuff, which I have to say is A, better than mine, and B, fantastic. It is worth the wait. But he should show you that really. That's kind of his thing. So I'll take you through some of this process. It's not a sort of a show off of a show and tell. It's more a sort of a visual representation of the journey so far. It is chaos here at the minute because we're moving into a new studio on Monday. We are so excited. Can't wait to show you all of that. So there's stuff to be packed up and everything. Hey Louise, hey, that's all right. I have friends in America still, because I don't know if you know that bit of the story. I was living in America, so I have lots of friends in America that say, when you say it's 7:30, is that evening or morning or whatever? So yeah, we'll be clear in the future to put whether it's English time or American time. Anyway, so we've been testing lots of different clay, lots of different glazes, lots of different techniques, lots of different, I mean, literally everything. Todd has been brilliant. He just thinks, oh, I'll make a something or other, and then he makes the something or other and it looks fantastic. I'm a bit more detail driven, and so I have to know what happens if you don't stick it on right, what happens if you make it too thin. I have to see all of that. So I'll show you sort of some of the horrific stuff. I'm really wary about doing this because if people join, they'll be like, what is that crap that man's holding? So let me just explain this. So this is a great example of what happens when you throw a mug and you decide, oh, it's a little bit too short, but I know what, I will use this as a test for a handle, and then the handle breaks, and so you think, well, rather than throwing that out, I'll use this to test a glaze and also try different techniques for wiring it off the bottom, because I was wanting to get a very particular spiral pattern on the bottom using a twisted wire. And so I wanted to see if you held it, what would happen, and it just messes up, it looks crap. So that's okay. This is sort of got some promise. It looks a little bit like a bird's egg. This is some yellow iron oxide, and some copper carbonate in there with water, and it kind of glistens a bit, and then I put a slightly glossy clear glaze over the top of it, which reacts a little bit, so you get this. It kind of looks a little bit like a bird's egg, and I think if you were to, flick that over something a bit more, I think it could look cool. So I've kind of kept that as a giant test tile, basically. This is horrific. I'm going to show you some stuff that's good, I promise. It's worth sticking around. This is terrible. I love this. I love the thought that someone's going to watch it and go, what is that? Why is that man showing this terrible stuff? This was going to be a jug. I remember this day, I was having such a bad day. I had a really bad headache. I felt really tired, but I just wanted to get in the studio. Like clay makes you feel happy. But if you're not with it, my grandma used to say that. My grandma, when she was baking, used to say, it'll only come out if your heart's in it. And I thought that was probably I've just realised I forgot to turn the microphone on. There's all this stuff about Todsy and I forgot. I don't even know if this will work, but we'll see. I might suddenly sound better now. I don't look any better, but I might sound better. Give me a thumbs up if it sounds better than it did before, if you've been hanging around.
Yeah, so the jug collapsed. It looked terrible, but I thought, well, I'll just keep it because I want to see the difference between sponging a glaze on, and this was just, again, I'm messing around with a couple of chemicals to see what happens, as opposed to brushing it. I don't like the brushing it looks terrible, but sponging it looks kind of cute. So that's what happens with all of this sort of, terrible stuff. This was quite cute. This is never a handle I would use, so I just very quickly made a very rough handle, but I wanted to see if you could attach it slightly differently. It worked, so I'll do that with proper handles, and then played around with this sort of glaze. Again, these are all just mixed up. These are ours. You can't buy them. Some of them are happy accidents. So that's the crappy stuff, and they're quite early. That's when stuff went wrong a lot. Now stuff's going right. I threw some faceted jugs the other day to see what would happen with a particular bluey sort of wash. Again, these are all sort of glaze tests, really. My maker's mark is here. I always date everything as well. And they came out okay. They're not amazing, but as sort of first test ideas, as a sort of, to go from crappy stuff to stuff that's definitely more solid, it was getting better. And then recently I've been trying some individual biscuit plates. I really love the idea. I'm a big tea fan. I really love the idea. Hey everybody, thanks for joining. This is lovely. I love the idea of a small plate just for one little biscuit, because I think it's quite cute. So I started this idea of playing around with these little biscuit plates, and what happened here is I started to form this as a bit of a moniker, I suppose. When it was finished, it just looked too perfect. It looked too complete. And I'll tell you a quick story. When I was at the farm, if you've been around a long time, you'll know that when I was at the farm and we did all of the gardens and renovated all the gardens, I cut paths in all of the garden that went through the different sections of the garden, and I created a really big rose walkway. And one side of the grass I cut deep edges in, and it was nice and neat and straight. And the other side I intentionally left a bit sort of rough, as a constant reminder that life isn't perfect. Because the history of gardens is that the reason we see lots of lollipop manicured perfect trees is the Victorians were obsessed with order and routine and neatness. And so a tree isn't meant to look, like that, like a neat sort of lollipop. And it does look neat, but it's not necessarily healthy for the tree. And so what I wanted to do with the ceramics is to intentionally just dent it a bit, just so it's not perfect. And I think it looks beautiful. And this I'm really pleased with. I really love this sort of drizzle. So there's my maker's mark as well. This is... in fact, there's a little sticker there that says that glaze was one that Todd mixed up. So I stole a little bit of his glaze. This is stoneware, not porcelain. So then most recently... Oh, and here's some stuff. So then I started throwing the sort of mugs that I like throwing. They're very thin. I throw porcelain very thin. A big shout out, actually, to my now friend and sort of something of an accidental mentor, but who's just been wonderful, a guy called Steve Harrison, who is... one of the most wonderful human beings you could meet. It is such joy to spend time in his company. He's been so incredibly kind with his knowledge. So, inspired by Steve, I've been trying to throw porcelain as thinly as possible. I'm being very delicate with this. This hasn't even been fired yet. If you could see, I've got look at this. It's like a rabbit's hutch. We're storing all of the delicate stuff in straw and these boxes. So. This has all of the components that I want my mugs to have, a sort of a detail around all of my pieces to have. Can you see that? My pieces. A detail around the rim, a little bit of detailing to the base. They're all hand numbered. That's my maker's mark. There is a date on the later ones, and then there's always some sort of indentation. Now this will be fired again. It will then be glazed, so it will look completely different when it's finished. I then started experimenting with these. These are quite cute. These went much better than I thought they would. They're a bit dusty because of the rabbit hutch. We should get a rabbit. We could have like the clay couple rabbit. Little candlesticks that are quite detailed in their engraving and their, you probably can't see on here, but what we'll do a live in the new studio with a proper camera, and you'll get to see all of it. And this is a variation of the biscuit plate with a little bit of depth. And this came from the idea of, and there's the little dent there. This came from the idea of wanting to perhaps look at dog bowls. And so I created a series of dog bowls because we had a ton of clay left that I wanted to use up. And so I went on this little mission of trying to throw dog bowls that looked a little bit regal. So they looked a little bit special for the dog. They still have that sort of dent that's been put in it. This has been bisque fired, so it's been fired to 900 degrees Celsius, and then we'll glaze it and make it look colourful and pretty, and then I'll glaze it again. But I have to say, I can't keep this colour because it darkens, but I quite like this sort of plaster colour. But you've probably noticed from the very beginning all the way through to now that everyone's different, and I have such admiration for production potters, or potters that can throw the same thing again and again and again. And while I can, because it's a good sort of routine to get into, so you throw 10 mugs and they all look the same, 10 bowls, they all look the same, I actually don't like it. I prefer this idea that I know roughly what I want to get out of it, and I know what the end result wants to be, but I like the idea that every single one is different. And so we're coming very close to launching our first collection, and they will all come with a certificate of authenticity, which is signed and dated by us. Every single one of them is hand numbered, which includes the edition number and the total number that are in that edition. And they will all have a unique something on them. Todd's got some, in fact, don't tell him I've done this, but I'm going to show you one of his things to make a point of this. Right, wait 2 seconds, come with me, because it's rubbish when you walk off camera. These are some of his, I might have to take the flowers out because I put flowers in. He bought me flowers because isn't that adorable? And let me show you this. So this is I'm going to get rid of these a second. This is a vase. This is one of Todd's. I didn't make this, and he will show you all of his other stuff. But I just wanted to show you this because I think his stuff is amazing. This texture that's on here, and it's different all the way around, this is all entirely organic. There are no chemicals used. This brown is a clay body slip that's mixed with rock that we found when we were walking the dog. There was this rock left on the floor. We brought them home, we ground them down, we added them. There's a little bit of vinegar in here as well. There's this gorgeous reaction here in the kiln. It's just stunning. And I really like this as a style. And so I think we're going to explore this more, this sort of style, and other sort of organic bits, organic materials that we can add to them. But he's got some cracking stuff. There's another set of these that are tall and thin that are on the kitchen windowsill. And every time, that's karma for sharing somebody else's work. I should say I'm getting really upset sharing his stuff. So there's a big journey from, inconsistently not being able to throw anything. And then for ages, I could only throw mugs this high. I just couldn't get them any taller. And then, of course, eventually, you get better and you can throw with more clay and them higher and whatever. So there are some teapots. I don't know if they're in here. There are some teapots lurking around somewhere. There are some candlesticks and mugs and all sorts. So there's a real kind of, mix of things that we're making. Some tons of candlesticks in here. I'm just looking through the rabbit hutch to see what's in here. Ooh, what's this? Oh, and this was it. This was quite fun. I forgot I'd done these. I want to play around with some soap dishes. As a really cool soap company, if you've never heard of Droit, get Droit soap. It's incredible. It's the oldest, or certainly one of the oldest, soap companies in the country. They ship all over the world. but they make clear see-through soap. They're incredible. And they're still working on some of the machines from the 40s when the family came over. If you listen to my podcast, Pause and Effect, you can listen to Alistair, the manager of Droit, and he'll tell you the whole history. It's phenomenal. Anyway, I wanted to create soap dishes, and it's really important that soap obviously is raised off of the main bit of the body so that it doesn't stick to it and get all slimy and gross. So I was working sort of from the ground up. I wanted to create a nice little soap dish that was cute, but with some sort of raised dots on it. Now these aren't finished because they're clunky and they don't look very nice, but I tried lots of different variations of these. So these were balls of clay that were rolled up and stuck in, and then I put a stamp on them to squash them. These were slugs that looked terrible. It just looks like somebody's eyebrows fell off. And then what was this? Oh, this was another one. This is balls without being squashed. So they're all just lots of tests. And at this stage, it's so fun to not have to prove anything and just try stuff and not worry about what it looks like. Because, I mean, clearly no one's ever going to buy that and I'm never going to sell it. But what it will prove to me is that these balls don't work, that they need to be flat or they need to be more of them or less of them or whatever. But also I can then glaze that so it's not wasted. And I can see what glaze does when it trickles over really, really high raised objects or, you know, through the inside of a rim. So all of these experiments, I don't think I should touch any more of Todd's stuff. All butterfingers here. Yeah, it's nice to be able to see it all the way through. Anyway, so that's what we've been up to. In between, tomorrow's the big pack up. We've got to pack up all of the studio. Oh, look, you could add slip dots. That works well. You are a mind reader and a brilliant person. This is exactly what Todd said. So I bought a syringe and I'm going to try syringing just tiny little bits on. But do you use an actual slip trailer? Because that's a lot thinner than a syringe. That would be tiny. Maybe you can add, can't you, more or less? I suppose the syringe is sort of the same thing. Yeah, I can't wait to try that. Just because they just need to be the right amount. They need to be little sort of, how would you describe a soap dish, Dot? A hump? A soapy lump, maybe? Soapy lump. Oh my gosh. So, I sound like a doctor that's about to be cancelled on the BBC. Yes, a slopey nudge, a nibble, a nub. I don't know, but that, yes, just a little raised lump is what you want, isn't it? Not a. You want a tiny ganglion on a soap dish, not a great big cheekbone. If Todd was here, he'd be like, stop. This is why it should be Jez and Todd. He's a great grounder for me. So, yes, we're going to pack all of that up. There's another kiln arriving. The wheels are all going to be packed up. Everything in the boxes have got to be... yes, Naomi's got a rubber bulb thing. Yep, a douche that has different size nozzles. Yes. Like a turkey baster for clay is what it is, isn't it? Let's call it out. That is exactly what I need. Yes. Yeah. So when we packed all of that up, or some of it up tomorrow, because as you'll see, I'm going to do a video in there tomorrow. I've got to trim some vases. Everything basically is being packed up around what we've got left to do. And then that'll be ready for a van. And our lovely friends Jamie and Lewis are this is funny. I'll send you some photos of this because this is super funny. They're letting us borrow their van so that we can move all of the stuff from the garage to the new studio. But their van has their two faces on it because they are magicians. They do illusion tours all around the world. And they've got this van, they've got a massive van and they've got a smaller van. We're going to have the small, it's a lorry really, but it's got them on the side of it. So I can't wait to see what people say when Todd and I get out. They'll be like, oh, they haven't aged very well, have they? They don't look the same as they did in the brochure. Yeah, so that will be fun. And so next week's live with Todd, I'm sort of hanging on as close as I can to see whether or not Todd makes an appearance, whether we get him. But I might run out of stuff to whittle on about. I mean, crikey. You've all got lives, haven't you? Unless you're potters, in which case this is probably all lovely for you. I've just found another flower. I'll pop that back in. Let me have a little rootle around in here, see what else there is. You're welcome to ask questions. If there's any questions you've got about our journey, about the new studio, about the carbon neutral thing. Did we tell you that? I don't know if we announced it yet, but I can announce it now. The certification came through. So we are now officially the world's first certified carbon neutral ceramic studio. Now I did that at the farm, not as a ceramic studio, obviously. I did that as a honey farm. So I'd sort of been through the carbon neutral thing before. The pot behind us, that one there, thank you, that's not mine. Oh, that is Todd's. Did we show you this last time? He's got some great stuff. All of my stuff has been very testy at the minute. I've got loads of finished stuff like squirreled away, trying to find the right glaze. But Todd's experimented with amazing textures. But this plant pot is his. All of those will be up for sale. He's done loads of them in different sizes. Some of them, in fact, have already been squirreled away. They're already in new homes. But yeah. So the carbon neutral thing was a lot easier to do smaller when we're just starting the studio. And as we get bigger, it will then become, it's easier because the, what's the word I'm looking for? Not agreements, the decisions, that's it, that we've made. Hey everybody joining. The decisions that we've made now about what can and can't happen for a carbon neutral studio will help inform us as we grow. So it's nice, you sort of got a bit of a rule book to work from, as opposed to retrospectively looking back over everything and changing things and whatever. And it's one of the reasons that we're more interested in going this route with the natural sort of reactions and natural minerals and clays, as opposed to going too far down the chemical route and the mined minerals. It's just it, and I hope what it does is it enables all potters to just ask more questions, and it doesn't matter. There isn't a right answer or a wrong answer. Can you see that blue on there, by the way? This is talk about distraction. This is like Billy Connolly. What do we think of that sort of effect of? You might not be able to see it very well. I have a privacy thing on my phone, so it makes it about 40% darker all the time. And also, if I go here, I can't see anything. So I don't actually know ever what I'm showing, but it's a very, very dark sort of bluey green. I've called it midnight, but it's sort of been wiped away a little bit. I'm interested to see what your thoughts are. Too dark as a whole thing? I mean, it's very personal. It's a bit like buying jewellery for somebody, isn't it? But here you'll see it. Some of the clay body has been. That's not a reflection. That's actually wiped away, so that you can see the clay body. But what do we think about the colour? I'm sort of a bit undecided. The more I look at it, the more I quite like it. You know what's really interesting is taking them out of the... I have to tell you this. So, the dog bowls. I've got a ton of dog bowls in the kiln. And the kiln, just before I started, I was like, oh, please, 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 please. The kiln's at 147 degrees. It's too hot to open and take out. You risk the cool air, obviously. You know, they're so insulated in there. They're like tiny baby squirrels in an incubator, sort of. And but the incubator's super, super high tech and very, very well insulated. So if you open it and let the air in, it's a massive difference in air temperature between 147 super cozy and all wriggly like a baby squirrel and super cold outside. So what can happen is they crack. But also, sort of more importantly, because you can make another one of these, the elements in the kiln can ruin as well. So I didn't, which is such a shame, because I'm most excited about what's in that kiln more than anything else over the last 9 months or 10 months, because the glazes in there I spent ages on, loads and loads of chemistry and working stuff out. And whereas these things, like I glazed just as sort of tests, you know, I just grabbed failed mugs and just threw some stuff on it to see what would happen. And they've come out, some of them have come out really well. Some of them are hideous. Oh, let me show you the blue thing. I'll show you this. Anyway, but the dog bowls in there are sort of pretty close to sort of, damn it, I'm really excited. They might be the one. It's taken me a long time to get there. I was going to show you this. I love the fact that, again, there'll be people joining and be like, oh my gosh, this stuff is like horrendous. So there's pottery everywhere, right? There's some of it is fired, some of it is extremely delicate because it's literally just dry like this. Some of it has been bisque fired, so that means that it gets fired to 1,000 degrees, and it's very, very fragile. And obviously I'm throwing very thinly as well, so they're extremely fragile. And then when they get fired to a higher temperature, they vitrify. It makes it much stronger and you can use it properly. But that's why they're in this little rabbit cage. I love the fact that people might not have seen the first bit and they're going, why is he keeping a rabbit cage? They're all sort of wrapped up in straw and stuff to keep them really safe and so they don't bang, or you can literally just like touch a bit of it on something hard and it falls apart. So my point is I found a load of white pieces that sort of looked like this, and I thought, oh, they're obviously been bisque fired, I'll glaze them. And so I dunked this thing in, and I used for the first time tongs. They look like barbecue tongs, only they've got sort of spikes in. And I couldn't work out why. I just couldn't get on with them. It didn't feel right. It felt really delicate. Anyway, I don't like them. Well, I crushed one. I grabbed it too hard, and it just fell apart in the bucket full of glaze because it wasn't bisque fired. It was just dry, very, very fragile clay, as if you'd just let it out in the sun. So I decided I would just fire the shard. I'd just use that to see what a certain blue came out like. But I don't like it. The blue colour is okay. I don't like this was brushed on. It doesn't work for me at all. I put some other bits of oxide in here. That's come out okay. So that's horrific. And that's the point. See, there's loads of horrific stuff. This was a very, very early little, I don't know what, I was probably looking at that. I was probably trying to throw a mug with a very small amount of clay. So this was probably 9-10 months ago when we first started. And I first started with porcelain, and then I got a tiny bit better. And so you just use them. I keep all of these as physical clay tests. So and this is interesting. So this doesn't ever happen, he says confidently and arrogantly. I never get cracks on the bottoms anymore. I've just got very good at, or obsessive at, firming the bases up, and so even on porcelain I don't get those. And I'm sure occasionally there will be, but so far it's been great. Anyway, I can't believe that. I have whittled on my own for 30 minutes. You poor thing. There's a therapy edition of this. I'm going to bring in a professional therapist and you can ask them questions and talk to them about this if you'd find that useful. And very sadly, Todd's still not here. So maybe he got stuck a little bit more in traffic. And I'm sorry that you didn't get to see him. But honestly, these lives, we really look forward to them. They're becoming like a really, really exciting part of our journey that we get to share with you what's going on and share with you what we've been doing. So you're welcome to ask questions. If you're late to this and you're watching it on catch up, you can ask questions in the comments and we'll ask them or we'll throw them to next week. We're going to try and do these every week with a sort of catch up of what we've been up to in the week. A little bit of an insight into some of the stuff that we've been looking at in the ceramics world. We bought a new book, by the way. If you're not into pottery, some of this will be, you won't be interested, but glaze over that. Glaze over that! Oh, that's terrible. My dad will be proud of that. But it was unintentional. They just pour out of me. But there's a new glaze book that Todd found, actually, and it is stunning. We have been through, I reckon, 7 or 8 different glaze books, and they're okay. They've all sort of got their good things, but also they're really not so great things about them. Naomi, it's so weird because you're like people's handles, you never know what is part of their name, but I think you're a Naomi. Thanks for sharing your journey with us. I'm enjoying your energy. Oh, thanks very much. I'm at the same testing point as you, but I'm going much slower as I don't get much time to myself. Slow is good. The only reason we're pushing this more is from the very beginning, the objective has been, can we give up our jobs, or certainly do our jobs a lot less, to make ceramics a full-time career. That's the aim. And we have a couple of really, I mean, bat-wacky crazy ideas about some things that we're going to do, some projects. So I can't wait to show you some of those. In fact, maybe I might have to wait a month or so. There's some really exciting stuff. The press have been very interested in our journey and our story, which has been lovely. And so I think there's some of that that's happening shortly. But we'll keep you sort of in the loop of what's going on with the exciting stuff, because there's a lot of really exciting stuff coming up. And it's weird talking to you like this, knowing all of that stuff that's coming. There's a whole TV show thing that's coming out on YouTube. It's being edited at the minute, which goes right from the very first moment when we discovered pottery through to, making the garage as a studio and whatever, all the way up to this point where now we get to transition. The dog is about to go crazy. Todd is here. This is about to be Jez and Todd live just as I'm signing off. Babe, you are ready. He's going to go mad now. It's okay. This stuff's all okay. Todd's here. Say hello, everybody.
Hi.
Oh, he's home.
This is the reaction every day.
Only from the dog.
Hello.
Anyway, gang.
I hope you've had fun. I'm sorry I missed it.
Next
time.
I said, I've done a show and tell with all of my pieces, and I definitely haven't shown any of yours. And so...
There's just so many. It's understandable.
Next time you're going to do a show and tell with your stuff, okay?
Wonderful. Yeah,
all right.
Cool.
Thanks, everybody, again. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, what time do I call this? Wait, Louise. This is 8... So this was 7:30 p.m. UK time that I started. It's now 8 p.m. UK time.
Yeah. Where are you from? Let us know. Let us know. We'll upload this and then comment away.
And I've said in the future we'll do little flags for time zones so that we know which is, when we say 7:30, we mean UK time with a little UK flag. Cool. Isn't that cute?
Yeah.
It's called an emoji. Bye.
Bye.